Welcome back, Hornet Prepressors. This is your professor, Ben Hewitt, and this is Print 75 and 77. Today we're going to do a quick demonstration. I always say quick, don't I? Today we're going to do a quick demonstration on some photo editing tools in Photoshop for touching up people's pictures before you print them. Some of you, the more astute viewers, might realize that some of these are in fact vacation photos that I took. And you may say, hey, why are we practicing on vacation photos? And I hate to break you into this new reality for yourself, but when you get good at Photoshop, expect to see a lot of vacation photos from your family that needs touching up, because you're going to end up doing it. Also, I like these pictures, and they have some good things and reasons to play with it. Anyways, let's talk about how to remove items from pictures, which is one of the more common things people will want you to do. If you're touching up an engagement photo session in front of the Eiffel Tower and there's like some guy bathing in the pond behind you or something, you want to get that out of that picture. No one's going to want to print that. In this case, we're going to make this a little bit more of a postcard perfect image of the governor's mansion in colonial Williamsburg. We've already established I'm a bit of a nerd here, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. So to make this period correct to the late 18th century, first we're going to delete the tourists, but other things that you might not think about. If there were power lines, we'd want to get rid of those. And while modern fire safety is a good thing, you're probably not going to find a whole lot of fire hydrants in early colonial America. So let's take a look at how to get rid of this. There's a couple methods. I'll show you the method I used to do when I was younger, because this was before Photoshop had these tools. That's how old I am. Photoshop didn't have clone stamp yet when I first learned it. So one of the things that can be done is you can take the marquee tool. You're going to go down to near where you're going to go to, and we'll find some similar patch of grass over here. And I'm going to make a rectangle marquee to select that section. Switch back to my selector tool here. Hold down Option, which even in Photoshop is still a copy drag. I can hold down Shift if I want to keep it straight. Drag this patch over the section I want to go. It zoomed out by accident. Sorry, guys. I guess my mouse is a bit sensitive. And that screwed up. I swear I was on the right track, and then the mouse went wonky on me. Apologies. Let's try this again. So hold down Option, move it over the mouse, visually line it up till it looks about good, and let go. And then deselect, if you will, and you might have to do a little bit of fuzzing around the edges to get rid of things. Another option for this, if you really wanted to blend it with this method, would be to copy and paste, because that's going to make a new layer. And now that patch that we drew, let's get this thing, we're on layer 1, select all to find it. There it is. Move it around wherever we want it, place it in front. And one of the things I like about doing the multi-layer option here is double click to get out of, moving it. You can use the eraser tool then, the regular eraser. If you give it a soft edge, we can go in and erase the edges, and it will kind of fade them out to the other side. It blurs them together. So when we deselect, you won't really notice any seams. It's kind of gone. That's the old manual method. It kind of works. It works well with something like grass and brick, although it's a pattern, it's repeated, it's somewhat irregular here. Grass and foliage is great because the irregular fractal patterns that they make, people's brains are just designed to kind of ignore that and look for the action in front of it. The part of our brain that makes us into good hunters and even good gatherers is the part that lets you look at a scene of background and see forest, 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 whatever. Hey, look, there's a deer. I want to eat that. Anyways, or hey, look, there's my friend lost in the woods. I found them. However you want to look at it, people. But the point is, we're really good at finding objects in the foreground and ignoring the background. That's why all camouflage tries to make you look like the background, because our brains already automatically try to ignore it. Anyways, that means you have a lot of leeway to totally blatantly copy and paste sections of foliage and grass and lawn and anything just kind of basic background nature. You can drop on top of itself and almost nobody will ever know, even though it repeats exactly. If it's not too close to itself, there's a little bit of irregularity, you just kind of turn off the part of your brain that notices it because it's too much work to notice these things. Of course, you never get it past a detective or someone who's good at Photoshop. Anyway, so that's one method. I'll show you some other methods here. Let's just go ahead and turn off layer 1 actually for now. And here's another thing. Well, this is a new thing. It doesn't always work. So let's take a look real quick at this. If I draw a box around what I want to get rid of, go down to background layer, hit delete, And since there's not a layer 0 and the background is the background, I can't delete to nothingness. So let's see what the options say. It can fill with pattern, history, black, gray, white, different colors, or content aware. Uses some AI algorithms to picture out what the different types of pixels inside the area are and give you a kind of average sampling of the texture. Let's see what it does here. Ooh, and it does a good job. There's a phantom shadow from I don't know what right here that it made because there's some shadow in the area. You can see that that little white pebble along the side of the path here repeats a couple times. A few of the textures, ooh, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad. No, 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 no. This little picture here that looks like the Loch Ness Monster made out of grass, that's going to be an issue. People are going to notice that, not just because it's anthropomorphized, but because it's there 3 times. Also, you can see that the path doesn't look so great through that section. It's kind of obvious that it's been made more than once. Anyways, if you zoom out, except for that pebble and the Loch Ness Monsters, it looks pretty okay. You don't really notice it too bad. But let me then undo this thing, and we're going to go in, and we are going to use my new favorite tool once I learned that it existed, the clone stamper. If you go over to your tools over here, it looks like a rubber stamp like the librarians used to use on books back when they used to physically stamp them. Good times, people, good times. It's also the letter S. That's right. Just like in Sesame Street, today's project is brought to you by the letter S. The clone stamp does what I did in the first demo. The clone stamp takes a section of picture and puts it somewhere else as a brush. And I said that very accurately and very intentionally, as a brush. It becomes a paintbrush. So you have brush controls. You might want to make it a little bit harder than 0%. You can change the size of your brush. Whoops. And then it's going to paint part of the picture somewhere else. What part of the picture, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. What am I even looking at in here? I think I'm still standing from a different picture, actually. A very interesting joke coming up. Okay, so when you start out with the clone stamper, first you want to hold down Option if you're a Mac user, or Alt if you're not a Mac user. And that turns it into its little crosshairs here. I'm going to do something a little crazy at first because it'll make it more obvious. Let me pick the grand doorway entrance to the manor and use that. And wherever I paint, you can see as I'm painting this out with my brush that it's painting the picture. And on the left, you can see the little plus sign, little crosshair going around and showing what is being copied over here. So you see the origin and its destination. Now, for this one, I would zoom in a little bit. I work better zoomed in on these things. And I would go kind of near, but not too near the fire hydrant. And I will choose on a hard edge, actually. So on the edge of the sidewalk, I will click, and that's my reference point. That lets me now, as you can see the preview inside my paintbrush circle, that lets me align my start point to make sure that the brick is continuous and doesn't suddenly jump out of nowhere. So I can go ahead and go through here and do this, and that erases it. And the edge is still slightly fuzzy, so it doesn't have any hard edges. Looks mostly good. My only complaint is that bare spot of dirt where the grass isn't fully growing is really distinctive. It's very easy to see, high visibility, and it repeats from a previous spot. So at this point, I would probably go somewhere else along this path, grab a little bit from here, and just fill in up there. Again, with this brick, you don't have to worry about the brick being a perfect pattern. And when you zoom out to any sort of normal distance, it's completely gone. Hooray! Similar things can be done over here. We have a group of tourists looking at a bench in front of a wall. So let's see what we can do for this. If we come over here, there's another bench in front of another wall because you gotta love this architecture. It is symmetrical. Let's copy from, why are no layers selected? Tell me that, Photoshop. Riddle me this. There we go. So now if we come over here, figure out where the bench is. Hey, look, it even lines up at the side of the building about right. And then we can go through and stamp some of that out. And if you just do a little bit of fuzzing with that, you can make it look like it belongs. People might not notice. You can also come in and get rid of the tourists over here. If it just kind of takes some tree, it's not going to be exactly perfect. Whoops, go too far. I got that other girl. The other tourist. Whoops. We're not here to replace one tourist with another. We're here to revert this place back to nature. There we go. And again, sometimes you have to do a little bit more to fit it all together. I'm doing a bit of a sloppy job here because I'm in a hurry. I know I've mentioned the YouTube timer before. So anyways, that's roughly how to tackle this first image. I'm going to pause and we'll come back with with one of the other images and talk about the other parts of the program project here. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more clone stamping goodness. Bye for now.